today is All Saints Day. And to find out about being a saint, we're going to begin by talking about what it means to be a sinner. We all got that one down pretty fast. You know, the psalmist reminds us that we are sinners before we are born. He reminds us that when we're knit together in our mother's wombs, we are sinners. And when we come into this world, we're not a little bundle of joy and love. We're actually a crying mass, a sinful blob. We know how to sin. It's knit into us. It's a part of our DNA. But today, God reminds us that we move from saint to sinner, not because we want to. I think most people at their core really love their sin. There's that old saying that says, you know why men and rivers are crooked, right? Because both take paths of least resistance. Yeah, that's what sin is. To move toward least resistance. And it takes an intervening act to move us from sinner to saint. It takes something beyond our own sinful nature to clean us up, dust us up, and stand us up again. And so Jesus comes along today and he's talking to his disciples in chapter 6 there. And it's like the Sermon on the Plain and the Sermon on the Mount with a lot of blessings and woes. But simply put, Jesus was talking about the reality of living differently than how you were born. God invites you to hear through this message what a new life looks like. He doesn't say ascribe to it or strive to be. He states the reality. When this happens, this will be the result. Blessed, from the Hebrew word Baruch. Say that with me. Baruch. Next time somebody sneezes, say, Baruch atah. Blessed are you. They will look at you and go, oh. But you will know what it means. It means that you ask God to stand with this person. To be a saint is somebody that God stands next to. And if your neighbor's lives are marked by sin and death and destruction, the only way God gets nuzzled up close to them is if you look at that person and say, Baruch atah. Blessed are you. God, stand with this person. We are not a people who create saints by marking off the great things they did in their life and looking for supernatural events that include them after their deaths. We talk about sainthood as being the condition of the believer upon the one who was on the cross. That we believe indeed Jesus died for us. And through an empty tomb, asks us to come and live with Him. To walk with confidence from life to death to life, through a tomb that couldn't hold Him. Blessed are you. Because God will never forget, never walk away, never neglect those whom He's called. That's what it means to be blessed. That's what it means to be a saint, one drawn by God into life. But Jesus just doesn't end there. He wants us to know the whole story. Kind of like Paul Harvey. How many of you grew up listening to or watching the movies in school entitled The 21st Century with Walter Cronkite? And all of these neat things that were going to happen. I'm still waiting for my personal jetpack to fly around in. Oh, I think that would be cool. I would love to fly around in a jetpack. But he always talked about it, and he always ended it, and that's the 21st century. Looking forward into things and seeing great stuff that lies ahead. To be a saint means that to be reoriented from the death and destruction that we see and participate in, to see life itself and be drawn to that. Growing up on a farm is a wonderful thing, isn't it? You can turn the yard light on at night and watch all the bugs in the whole county come to your place. The mosquitoes, the June bugs, you name it, they all come there. Drawn by that light. As they get closer to that spiral, they die. The light of God, which calls you as saints, doesn't draw you into death. It draws you into new life. The opposite of that is what Jesus says, woe. It's kind of tough to find a Hebrew or a Greek word that means just woe. But what does just woe mean anyhow? It might mean simply this in the context of saints and sinners. Oops. The big oops. Living for oneself. Thinking only to take care of oneself. To laugh at the world as though it's your footstool and only for you do you live. Oops. To move from sinner to saint is to move from oops to aha. Today, as we celebrate All Saints' Day, and we use this text, I like these words. But I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. What Jesus calls saints into is a life which is contrary to the life of his kingdom. It is not do unto others before they do unto you. It is not do unto others and then split. It's do unto others as you would want them to reciprocate to you. Saints do saintly things. That's what Jesus is saying. He's not asking you to try to be a saint. He's inviting you to live with him as a saint. And here's the blessing. Simply put, saints are also sinners. We cannot separate that from ourselves. God will take care of both the saint and the sinner in you. He will forgive one in order that the other might shine forth. Today, God invites you to believe that your sin is forgiven, your guilt is removed, and a new being is breathed into life. Breathe deep of that breath of God, feast well on the meal of forgiveness, and live that blessing. That is, go with God. Amen.